Hello and welcome. My name's Leanne. I live in Australia and this is my crafty cupboard.
Good morning, so excited. At last we've got our first prompt for Roxy's Journal of Stitchery Volume 4 Treasure Hunt, and I have laid out many of my treasure hunted items already to get started, and our first prompt was a monogram, and I felt really excited by that because it is something that I have worked with recently. So I found this exquisite book in the library, Monograms and Words in Ribbon Embroidery by Niekerk, and fell in love with it so much that I went away and bought it. That's its ISBN there. The thing I loved about it was that at the time I was wanting to do more ribbon embroidery and learn about it, and so this book has got just absolutely exquisite information about how to make the letters and lovely close-up photos. By all means buy this book, it is so beautiful. But also you can go to Dye's website, and I'll link it in the description box, and you can actually purchase the products used to make this, and you can also see the size of the individual letters, because you can buy the letters printed out. I've blown mine just to sort of fit like this and take up one side of the box. Also, I'm going to tame down the flower embellishments a little, so I'm going to keep my embellishments down on the lines of the letter. So I've picked out, as you can see, these colours. I've got my hoop ready. This hoop, absolute treasure, was $15 at a second-hand store. The only thing is this wing nut situation here. Very hard on my hands. So I'm going to replace this out I'm going to go to the hardware store and try and get like a big bolt with a Phillips head slot in it, so I can use a screwdriver to tighten it up. But yeah, I had wanted a table embroidery stand for ages because the little one that I have is too high when you sit it on a table. In the book it describes how to do a couched stem stitch, but I'm just going to do a stem stitch in one of these silks. So one of those, and then there's the blue, the mauvey blue main flower, and little blue flowers. I just can't decide. And a line of green. Last night I was thinking blue. This morning I'm thinking the mauve. Well, I'm just going to start stitching with one and see what it looks like. If I want to change my mind, I can. I love working with this filament silk. So that's a Pearl 12. It is so smooth to work with. It's just gorgeous. What's not gorgeous is once you open this beautifully twisted strand to start working with it, is it quickly descends into chaos. So you definitely want to spool it up. So to start off with, I'm just stem stitching, which I usually do out of a hoop and do the stitch in one motion. In order to film, I'm having to put the camera in between me and the work, which makes it very hard to see what I'm doing, so I apologise, I won't be doing much stitching on camera. I forgot to say at the start in my excitement, in case you didn't see my previous video, that I'll be making a Victorian sewing box. So you can go back and watch that previous video and hear more about it. I talk about it at the start of the video. I think this is going okay. As I mentioned, I can't I can't see the best. You tell me. So I'm just going a little bit forward and come up. So I'm outlining it first because my drawn lines aren't very distinct and it was hard to see, you know, where the lines were. I've had a few goes of drawing it because this fabric is probably not the best weave to be stitching on, to be honest. It's a bit loose. And it kept shifting as I was drawing. So I'm going to continue on doing this, and I'll be back later when I've got more to show you. Come back on just while I finish off. I thought it might be interesting, in case you don't know, when you're working in a stand like this, you don't want to have to turn to the back of your work to tie off or knot off or anything like that. So just take a couple of back stitches in the area that will be later covered with embroidery anyway, and come through to the top and snip off. It's important that those are back stitches, not running stitches. Okay, I'm back. I've been away. I went for a trip down the South Coast, a little road trip, and stayed away for the weekend with some friends sewing. What a wonderful thing to do. I worked on different projects to this one while I was away. I'll put some footage at the end of this video to show you the lovely area I was driving past. I'm just working on putting a whip stitch of metallic thread, and this is Rhineck Metallics, very fine braid, and I'm just going to, might come up there actually. And so this is just where you feed your thread, weave it under the back stitches that you've done. Yeah, so as well as going away to the South Coast, I also spent a lovely evening away just in Sydney with my daughter. We just had a little mini holiday in our own backyard. We've had beautiful winter weather, and it was just a glorious evening on Sydney Harbour, so I'll pop some footage of that at the end as well. If you're not from Sydney and you ever come, just jump on the ferry at Circular Quay from wharf number 5 that goes over to Milson's Point. Basically goes to Milson's Point, McMahon's Point, Balmain, and then sort of Darling Harbour area, ending at Pyrmont Bay, and back again to Circular Quay. And it's just a lovely short ferry trip that's spectacular, so I'll pop some footage in of that as well. So I think, as I previously mentioned, I'm taking lots of heavy inspiration from a beautiful book, but I'm not, this time around I'm not stitching it exactly as is in the book. Just changing it up a little bit, see how it turns out. And I'm a little concerned because I was trying to work in muted tones, and here I am and it's looking a bit pretty tones maybe. When I say pretty, what do I mean? Clearer colours, not so muted. There we go. And see how these are quite puffy? So in the book it's got a couple of stitches to hold these down. Looks like a few stitches actually. I'm going to just try one and see what it looks like. So I'll have a bead over the centre later on. Do you know, as metallic threads go, this one's not too bad to work with actually. That could be famous last words. Might become difficult now. What's happened there? I've come up through the ribbon already, haven't I? My light in my craft room is quite dull, and so I'm not super happy with some of my satin stitching, especially in this area. They're too loose, too far apart, quite messy. I did think about starting again, and I thought, no, I'll just carry on, because probably by the time I've put ribbon flowers over that, you won't even notice. So these back stitches here were whipped with the fine silk ribbon, and these sprays were lazy daisy stitched with that same ribbon. The one in the book also has some lovely French knots. I think they're French knots, aren't they? I'm just going to have a little read. This book, honestly, if you are into trying ribbon embroidery and love monograms, it is so beautiful, such a beautiful book. So I'm using this softer colour. I do tie a knot for my ribbons, but what I've learnt the hard way is keep the knot away from the area where you want to stitch, because if there's a knot sitting there, you either go through the knot, pull the ribbon from the other side accidentally, or it gets stuck and you can't go through it all. Alright, let's just jump in and give it a go. Don't know. 2. Let's try 2, see what happens. Oh, it's quite delicate, isn't it? Alright, I'll do the next one. I'm going to do 3 for comparison. Isn't that dreadful? Gunner. We always take these sorts of shortcuts in Australia, don't we? I never used to say gunner. I can remember my English teacher in high school drawing he was a good drawer. Drew a picture of a gunner, like a fighter pilot or something operating a gun. Gunner. And crossed out the word gunner underneath it, Gonna, and replaced it with going to. Yeah, 3. Keeping them quite loose, otherwise they'll end up as nothing. Right, that one I didn't sit the ribbon flat, I sort of let it twist how I wanted to. Let's see what difference that makes. Oh, wow. I like that. There we go. No twisting flat then. Maybe just one more. Just let it do what it wants. 1, 2, 3. What do we get? Yeah, certainly they're more interesting if you let them just twist flat. Now to end these off, what I'm doing is slipping it through the stitches that are on the back. I'm just letting it come out wherever it comes out and cutting. Alright, now I've got to pick which blues. I feel like I need to mute it down a bit, so maybe bring these ones rather than that one. These kinks are why I don't like storing things on card. Hopefully, I should go to an iron, but I can't be bothered, so hopefully it doesn't have much impact. So these ones were looped behind and just sewn into the cloth, but these one I'm stabbing through. I think this is called a ribbon stitch. think to the items I've curated, I'm going to add some gold beads. Yeah, I'm going to add more of these in the blue, and I'll be back. Okay, while I'm here close by with the light blue, I'm going to add in just a couple of buds hanging down here. So I'm just going to do a ribbon stitch. Maybe just one more little. Don't want to go lower. I think I want to just bring it off this way. This thread, this ribbon's firmer than the other one I was working with. There you go. So I'll add some green around those later. Ribbon stitch. One just here, a bit bigger this time. Yeah, I might leave that one like that. Maybe just one here, tiny, tiny. Alright, I think I'm going to leave that at that, add in some leaves and beadwork. I should just try a fly stitch. See if that works. Yep, happy with that. And then one up this way. And then quite a few in amongst the yellows. Hello, darling.
What's wrong with the fork?
All right. Okay, I'm back. So, trying to bead. My battery went flat. So I'm going to go with the gold ones first. In the yellow. These are very tiny. Might disappear altogether. We'll see what happens. Oh no, that's okay, isn't it? Okay, next one. This is my favourite, so I Really hope I don't lose it. Apologise if you can hear my tummy growling. I'm too keen to keep stitching. Haven't had breakfast yet. Okay, so here we are, all finished. Just put larger sort of mauvey coloured beads in the centre here, clear ones in these ones, a little mauvey coloured one there. Let's take it out of the frame. So taking it out of the frame, I've discovered why this might have been donated. It has left rust all over my work. Luckily, there on the outer edges, I'm going to be cutting this down much smaller. But that could have been a disaster, so obviously I'm going to have to wrap this. I didn't even notice the rusting before. Look at that. I've sort of mocked up the box so that I can see what size to work things. So my plan is to keep this fabric all intact and to use a little glue when it's time to put it on the box. I haven't yet decided what to do with this, so for example, so that's sort of my intention there. That's one idea. Or the other idea is that this becomes the lid with some other things around it, some other prompts that we're given. Or my third idea, now that I have this frame, is to stitch it again smaller. But I'm not sold on that idea. Especially because actually this is a bit bright. I could mute it down with some Inktense pencils, I think, if I wanted to. Or my other idea is to trim it down this way, and so it takes up, you know, a diagonal 1/2 of the box and just embellishes it there. I really quite like the look of that. Okay, couldn't resist. Been thinking about it all night and I'm back. I am going to go with this version, and I have decided to cut separate pieces to cover all the sides, and so I'm going to have little separate pieces that I'll stitch on, and then when they're done, glue them down. How I used to make cottage craft things back when, gosh, that was back in the 80s, you know, covered photo frames and photo albums and things. And so I'm going to stitch. I've folded this and ironed it, so I've got a crease where I want to stitch. I've also drawn a chalk outline to show the edges of the rectangle, so these are what's going to be inside the rectangle, and then it'll be ready to cover the board. just wondering if I do want to put a little bit of insert lace in there before I stitch. So I might grab some and have a look.
What do you think? 1, no lace. 2, little lace. Or 3, big lace. Leave a comment below.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time. Stay watching if you'd like to see the footage from my little mini holidays.
So first stop on my South Coast tour was the Tien temple at Wollongong. Just a lovely, lovely tranquil spot. This is the Pacific coastline at Kiama, and actually it's quite a still day out here on the ocean. It sounds a little windy, but isn't that sun glinting off the water beautiful? A little bit of a closer view up against the rocks and over to the next headland. This is the lighthouse and a view from up higher. I love this spot of the world. Beautiful green grass right down next to the ocean. I just love where hills meet the ocean. It's just the best of both worlds. Look at that. Vast. Goes on forever. Vienna is most famous for its blowhole. So here we can see the hole in the rock. Crowds waving excitedly. Playing again in slow motion so you can see the scale. Look at the top left corner, you'll see the size of people compared to the spray. These are the trees surrounding the retreat that we stayed at, a little bit further inland, just surrounded by beautiful bush. A few days later, back in Sydney on our beautiful harbour. Getting the cheapest, best harbour cruise on Sydney Ferries. Look at that sunset. My favourite bridge to drive over, Anzac Bridge. You get a beautiful view coming into the city. I love the colours of the sunset sky. This is Pyrmont Bay, Darling Harbour. Little panorama of the city skyline as the ferry reverses out and turns around to head back to Circular Quay. This is only about 5:30 at night, already dark. You can hear a busker in the background and our iconic, beautiful opera house.